All right, so welcome to the American Dream podcast. Once again, my name is Daniel Bischoff, and I'm here with
Mario Lopez.
That's funny. Today we're recording episode 8, and I'm sure after you listen to this, you recognize that the last couple of days have been pretty, I would say pretty, I'm not sure if to say unexpected, because now
it's just an eventful sort of a few weeks that has transpired.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know when this is going to go up.
Right.
But this is, August 29th?
Right.
And
this is a week.
This is basically the week that a lot of things have happened, from shootings,
Election.
and then other certain deaths, even like artists, and then also the conventions, because basically the elections are coming up,
Right.
and so each respected party held their own convention and talked about certain stuff that are promising, or that they want to be the next 4 years.
Yeah. How they want to see America in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So I actually took the chance, and I felt like I was torturing myself a little bit, but I had already watched the Democratic National Convention. And so I listened to the speech by Kamala Harris, and I watched a little bit at the end of Obama's speech. And then I think I saw somebody else. I can't remember. But I listened to that, and I watched it. And then I also watched a little bit of the Republican National Convention, because I think that I like to make sure that, like, I try and get the whole picture of what's going on. I don't want to be necessarily the type of person that only watches things that are related to the Democratic Party, because they could be things that they're lying about. And then I definitely don't intentionally watch a lot of what is going on relating to the Republican Party, because some of the things are a little bit too troubling to hear. But in a sense, I tried to listen to some of it. So I think I saw Melania Trump's speech, and then I saw Eric Trump Jr.'s speech. And then I didn't watch the live version of Donald Trump's speech. I just watched.
It was long.
It was pretty. I mean, man.
It was 70 minutes.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe Biden, I think, did like 24. Trump did. And then I didn't watch the whole thing. And then I was watching it, but my mom had the Spanish channel on. So the guy was trying to translate in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So he was talking, and then the translator was talking. So I could barely understand anything.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And then that's why I didn't get much of what he was talking about. And then I came up and watched it on my phone for a little bit, and then I shut it off.
Mm-hmm.
It was going way too long.
Mm-hmm.
And he's eventually going to repeat the same thing, maybe.
Right.
During, if there is debates, because there's some people that don't want Joe Biden to do debates.
Right.
And I just, 30 minutes ago, I watched the fireworks at the end.
Oh, I didn't watch the fireworks. I didn't see all of it, but you should for sure play it out, because I think I saw maybe a 5 to 10 second video of part of it, and I didn't even know it was held in front of the White House lawn. What? Are these a deck of what? So what are we watching right now?
So right now is basically the conclusion of the RNC.
Right.
And then there's fireworks to conclude it. I love the ending so much.
What?
Because I hadn't seen this. So look at that.
What? What? No way. No way.
So the fireworks literally spell out Trump 2020. And it's happening again. So this is the second time it's...
What? Insane.
Yeah.
How can you not get excited after watching fireworks like this?
Yeah. And then, like, so the people that are there...
Mm-hmm.
So first of all those people that are there are the ones that are watching the convention live.
Right.
And then outside,
mm-hmm.
there's protesters.
What?
Yeah. Who are literally, like, making loud noises, screaming and stuff. And basically, so the people who are there can't hear anything.
Right.
And then I guess some other people had, like, Trump failed something signs. I think they were referring to the COVID stuff.
Right.
But a lot of people were giving them flack because there's so many people there.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of those people didn't have masks.
Right.
And then they're really close together.
Right. So they're not following the guidelines.
The guidelines. But the protesters aren't doing it the same, so...
Right.
It's basically... I mean... It doesn't really matter, really, because...
Right.
The point you're trying to make here, the guys you're supporting are not doing the same thing either.
Right.
So you really can't make an argument against or for, like, these people not following the guidelines.
Right.
When there's other people that aren't doing it either.
Right. But there is a difference between, in a sense, why they wouldn't care about the guidelines and stay in their gathering versus at this convention. I mean,
yeah. So these guys, I would assume they were invited and are important people,
right,
from the government,
mm-hmm.
and I'm sure that they've all been tested,
right,
and so there's practically, like, no risk of actually contracting it or from each other,
right,
because they're probably all tested,
mm-hmm.
because they're going near the president,
right?
Unless
the president's like, the president is really like, let's slow down the testing and not test the important people in government.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the part that I didn't see, and basically, like, throughout the days, I never really watched any of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just not looking at clips, but I was watching, like, a news podcast, and they were covering certain segments that happened throughout the week.
I mean,
both Democrat and Republican conventions.
Yeah, I watched. I mean, I watched. So I said, caught a little bit of the end of Obama's speech from the DNC, and then I watched Kamala Harris' full speech, and then on the RNC part, I watched Eric Trump Jr. and then Melania Trump, and then I saw a clip, like a 10-minute clip of Trump's speech.
Oh, okay.
And I can't believe that you said that there was 60 more minutes of it that I, like, uncut. Considering I only saw 10, I was like, this is starting to get kind of boring. And and I think pretty much why I did that is to try and gather information on what people are saying from both sides. And obviously I lean more towards one side than the other, because of just, like, how I view certain things and how it doesn't really align to the other. Okay. So in a sense, the kind of idea that I caught from the RNC does sound like an inclusive world. It wasn't in a persuasive way an inclusive world. And I think that's what is troubling when it comes to people are talking about how America is going to be great again. I think that some of the people that say that would like America to be in a certain way where minorities are not involved at all, or maybe not seen at all. But even though...
What stuff were they saying that represented what you're saying now?
Well, it's difficult to say, but in a sense, when I watch and people are talking about how there isn't racism, like, alive in America, even though in a sense the racism that people had experienced in the past isn't literally the same thing that we're experiencing now. There have been some kind of behaviors that have evolved, and they've evolved to be able to be alive right now. You know what I mean? And so listening to stuff like that and people making claims about, like, sometimes I watch videos of different videos of let's say a Republican, some kind of event where Trump is going to be speaking, and people, I mean, the media will go in and ask all the questions because sometimes they like to make fun of them about how they think about certain things. But it just seems like part of their reasoning isn't really consistent. Like sometimes questions that are asked about how they feel about certain things are inconsistent and they're not realistic. Maybe, for example, like I think I watched a video of a guy who was there and interviewing people, and he interviewed like a Trump supporter. It's like, do you think Donald Trump likes black people, or are there any black people at this event? And he said yes. And so the cameraman just like turned around, and I guess maybe in that area you can't see how many people were there, but like just looking around, there are barely any like black people there in the first case. And so that is just like another evidence. So they were both looking around and nobody's seeing any black people. And then the guy goes, "Oh, he's black." And then it's like, no, they're in a line for something else. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like examples like that. And then when it comes to women, how like in interviews, I'll see like somebody talking to a Trump supporter about how women are treated in this world and how Donald Trump has been involved in certain cases where like I don't know if you remember, there was like a picture circulating of him with Jeffrey Epstein and like and all that stuff. And people are saying they're like if this is even true, would you still support him? People are saying yes. And I think that's troubling, considering I know that like there are a lot of parents and moms who would not let anybody like Donald Trump anywhere close to their kid. And there are women who like really feel strongly about this guy, that it's okay for them to like think that way. And I think that's where I talk about like some of their reasoning isn't consistent. Because I don't think any woman, whether you, and it's difficult to say whether you support Trump or you support Biden or whatever party you're in, I don't think any woman would find it acceptable that her kid was involved in such thing that it's going to be traumatic for the rest of her life.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that. But I mean, right now you're talking about examples that have happened like, through the term he's been in.
Right.
But you were saying specific. I think we should talk about like specifically about the convention. Right. What is leading you to think that there are ideas that are being portrayed or laid out? I mean, are not
like one of the
inclusive.
Examples is like I heard one of the speakers say that like the Democrats are trying to like demolish the police and stuff like that. And I think that there's some truth in that, definitely a lie to that, because we all understand there should be some kind of like system created to protect people, but the system that we have now isn't really doing a lot of the protecting. It's doing a lot of like the shooting and harassing people who are protesting, and obviously there are some people who are involved who are just rioting and doing dumb shit, obviously. But in a sense, some of the things that they were claiming that the world, how this America is going to be when it's run by Biden, was a little bit more on a scary and extreme side. And the things that they were like kind of describing, that, you know, like abolishing the police, like nobody necessarily wants to abolish the police. Some people might feel strongly about it, but in a sense, the main point is that this is a system that hasn't been able to work for the entire country. It favors a lot certain people, and it doesn't. I mean, and then we can maybe at some point transition and talk about the recent death of
we'll talk about that,
Jacob Blake. But
I feel the same way you're feeling, but the only thing that's different is that I think of that with the Democratic Party,
right?
With the convention that they had, because they are. All they're focused on right now is Trump. Right. And I know he's the sort of the competition.
Right.
But in a sense, they're focusing too much on him and trying to make the whole vast U.S. to basically just hate him and then have that be the reason for not voting for him.
Right.
When they should be focusing on a broader point and laying out things that not only focus on this topic of police brutality, and then if you feel like there's a systematic racism, which is different from just racism in general. Instead of, I know it's something that's important, but instead of just focusing on that and just that, and not laying out other foundations for certain things that you want to put out. But I know it's early in the election cycle, so they have time to
go into
detail with all that stuff. But I felt like in the Republican convention, they were laying out stuff that wasn't pertained to just the writing and then police reformation and stuff like that. They were also saying about other stuff that like deals with other countries, and then the military, and then a little bit of climate. I think they were talking about because they want to get like cleaner water and cleaner energy. I heard some of that stuff in the convention for the Republicans, but I didn't really listen to the Democratic one. But what I gathered from listening to videos of other like reporters that try to not be as biased as the like big media like companies that sort of like CNN, NBC, ABC, Fox News and stuff like that. And they were basically just saying that the Democrats were focusing on just this. Right. They weren't really coherent with something, and were sort of sending out message that the stuff that are happening right now, not like the rioting and looting and destroying basically cities, where there are people that are also like in favor of like Black Lives Matter, but that doesn't stop the other guys from destroying their property. Right. And never mentioned anything sort of negative towards that, to sort of send out a message that the stuff that they're doing now is not the right way of doing it. Right. Instead, they were just portraying it as if all this good stuff is happening because these people are protesting. And then they just focused on that. That's all they focused on, basically. Yeah. That's what I got out of it. They never really focused on anything else. And it sort of alienates certain people that probably have an issue with that, but also want to know about other stuff. Because that's not just the only thing that's going to get you votes. Right.
I think part of the reason why they're so focused on him is because of how... I think one of the big things they really attack him on is like his response, how he wasn't timely with the response on handling the virus. Like that one, like that thing is really like they got it over his head.
Yeah, they attack him a lot. But so I was there. He has a press secretary. I don't know if you've seen her. Have you seen her? Yeah, she's like really smart. Right. And the reporters were asking questions, and she flips through the binder and really like answers them directly and with facts and stuff. Right. And I know a lot of people for this virus handled it wrong here. Right. And it's not just one person that's to blame. It's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. They tell Trump that he didn't listen to the experts a lot. Yeah. But the experts that were saying stuff, like the World Health Organization, they were saying that the virus was not contagious with other people, so you couldn't spread it from person to person. Mm-hmm. That was the early stuff. And then they were also saying that masks aren't really effective in any way. Right. And that was all the information that was coming from China. So they were believing everything that China was saying. Mm-hmm. So they're the experts, and then they're saying this stuff. So if you're like a president, right, and you hear that stuff from the WHO, then you're going to believe it, right? Because they're experts. So you're not really going to take much precaution. Or if you're out there in a press briefing, you're going to say, well, it doesn't seem like this virus is going to be much of a threat.
Right.
But then later on,
it
turns out it gets worse. But that's because you're basing your stuff off the experts when they're getting certain things that are misinformations that are causing the head of the U.S. to look bad when he's just getting information that's not accurate. Right. Then one of the first things that was really good that he did was the travel ban to China. And when he first put that in, a lot of people were criticizing him because he was being racist. Right. When he was just trying to sort of cut off a way from where it's starting to spread here. Yeah. So he was gaining a lot of flack from that. And then there was other people that, when all this was starting out, they were still like saying, come out and join this sort of march, or like Nancy Pelosi was saying, come down to like Chinatown and like celebrate like Chinese culture and stuff, because I think it was like the Chinese New Year. Right. And so all these people that are criticizing him were also not taking action when they could take action as well. Right. And then also the experts were failing because they were just being misinformed from China, because they were believing them when they were seeing like all these lies that you can't transmit it from person to person. Right. And then all these things escalate. So sort of like that stuff, criticizing him, I think it's like bad. And it's not really a good argument because it wasn't really all his fault. Right. And in general, nobody really foresees a virus like this to come out of the ordinary or at a certain time. Like, oh, we're expecting it this year, so we're going to prepare. Of course, you should always prepare for something like this. Right. And they weren't really prepared, sort of equipment-wise. But they ended up delivering and over-delivering on other governors' requests, like New York. Andrew Cuomo, I think. Yeah. So he was requesting like the respirators and stuff like that, and Trump delivered on giving them that, and then he overdid it as well, because they didn't end up using much of that. Right. And then I was watching a video where they were saying also like that, criticizing Trump of they weren't prepared with masks, gloves, and all that stuff. And then so the press secretary was saying that before Trump went into office, the administration for Obama basically emptied out all their equipment. What? They emptied out every like supply that they had. So when he came in, he would have nothing really to work with. That's funny. So they basically sabotaged him there. But I mean, it was already like 3 years already that he was in term, so he should have probably had supplies by then now, but they weren't really.
I guess I don't think he was. Nobody was expecting us to be experiencing the virus.
I've seen people that defend Trump and say that a lot of people don't expect stuff like this to happen, and then they pull up like an Obama clip from 2014 saying like the virus,
the Ebola,
may like come up that sort of attacks the whole world and stuff, and that we should all be prepared for circumstances like that. And I mean, that's fine and all, but they had issues with the H1N1. Ebola not as much because it was not easily spread. That's what helped them out. But the H1N1 was a easily spreadable disease. Right. But I forgot, like some guy that from the administration came out and said that they were really lucky that it didn't turn out worse because they weren't prepared for the H1N1 at all. Right. So really no one is prepared. Right. Even if they're out saying that and conscious that stuff like this can happen, but they're not actually preparing
for it. Yeah. It's difficult though, because a lot of it all is just he's just like the face of the country. So like, it's easy. It's like he's like an easy target.
Yeah, he's an easy target with anything really, but it's also some fault to the media because they focus on the negative too much, and then the world sees all that negative stuff because you're focusing on it when you're not really highlighting some high points that actually bring out good attributes in a person. You're just focusing on the bad and negative stuff, and then when he's probably not even doing anything bad, but he has some sort of connection to it, you put the blame all on him, when he really doesn't have much play in it, but because his name is attached or something,
because these people are going to do what they want to do.
And
they really will.
They're going to do whatever they want. And Trump, he really can't do much because we all know the president is just like a figurehead that has control over the military, because he's the commander-in-chief. But all of like these policies and then laws that are passed, he can't really do anything with that because he has to go through a process with the Senate and government where at any point they could reject his sort of proposals. But in the beginning, it did seem like crazy how this sort of celebrity with no experience in politics comes in and becomes the leader of the United States, and it makes the U.S. look a certain way. But I felt like he's gotten better, and he's been getting good advice on politics to sort of sway away from all that goofiness that he does or stupid comments and actions that he's said while running for president. Which some of that stuff is not defendable because it's too extreme and so offensive to certain people. But he's gotten better as a person, and I admire that because he could basically just say it or not take any criticism or guidance from people that actually know what they're talking about.
He could just be like, I'm running this the way I want to.
And not really listen. But it looks like he's been trying to listen. He's been getting pointers in the way he speaks. Sometimes he holds back a little on criticizing people, like just putting them on blast and stuff like that, when there's really no circumstance to do it. But I think, I don't know, for some reason I feel like he's gonna win again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's impossible. He's already done it the first time. I think it's a matter of,
and he was losing in the polls. So
but now it's gonna be also about this whole mail-in ballot thing.
I don't like that.
That is going to be like really interesting.
There's gonna be voter fraud if that happens.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
because I was looking at it. So there's absentee ballot voting, right? Where you can't go and vote. But that's different from just regular mail-in voting, because I think the mail-in voting, I think everyone gets a voting thing. And the absentee, it's actually like a tract and sent to you, like specific people. So it's they know. Request. So they know who is the person voting, and they track that. Unlike the mail-in voting, where it's just sort of like a paper that's sent in, you vote, and then it's just sent out. No tracking or anything. And recently, the USPS, I don't know if you saw, they went bankrupt.
What?
And so the government bailed them out with like a $1 million like sort of loan, I heard that, or something like that.
Was it them that were supposed to be creating some type of like budget for I don't know, it was just I can't remember the video exactly, but basically one of the I guess the main handlers of mail in America in a sense, they were supposed to create some kind of budget to create the budget was supposed to, in a sense, if anything happens in the future where they're going to need it, then they're going to have to use it. And it was kind of crazy. But, I mean, it's not that safe unless a lot of testing is done to be able to go physically to vote. Because, I mean, I've been in the lines, man. Those lines they could be really long. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a really interesting situation that both parties are trying to argue.
For what?
Like one party, voting? Right? Yeah.
Well, so the Democrats throughout this COVID thing, they've been like paying much attention to Fauci and what he says.
Right.
And even though he's not a politician, he's just like a doctor, and doesn't have an expertise in that field of politics. He just gives like sort of what he thinks, but it's not based off anything politically. It's just, I guess, science,
right,
is what he bases it on. And so when he says like there shouldn't be crowds, Democrats say, well, there shouldn't be crowds then,
right,
because he's saying it.
Right.
We should wear masks. Well, he's saying that we should wear masks, so we should follow this. So they asked him of what he thinks about like actually like voting in person, and he said it's fine. Like, it's something that can be done with just taking and following the guidelines and setting up like the 6 feet apart and stuff like that. And it can be done. It's not much of an issue. Right. And it's sort of like the Democrats ignored that he said that and just want mail-in voting and don't want to have like actual in-person voting, which is the fair way, I think, if you want a fair election. When 3 years or 4 years ago, you were sort of making headlines that it was a rigged election because Russia was involved.
Right.
And
which it turns out that is.
Well, they were involved in some way, but what they were trying to impeach him for, it was not really factually correct. And then Obama actually kind of stepped in and did some spying in the sort of presidential election, which he wasn't supposed to. And then Joe Biden said he didn't know that, but then the not the audio, but sort of like a transcript said that Biden was literally their president. But he's like literally blatant out lying on live TV, saying that I don't even know like what all this is about. I wasn't even there, he says. When
that's so funny.
It says that he was part of it and knew that Obama was doing this spying on the election.
Right. That's funny though, is because it's like every year everybody's like trying to seem like they're all separate and different, but both people would just be trying to like to find ways to destroy each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about like Democrats destroying other Democrats, or just
I'm just saying. I'm just in general. The Democrats figure out ways to destroy the Republicans, and the Republicans are figuring out ways to keep destroying the Democrats.
Yeah,
and it just keeps going.
There's like so many things that both parties have done wrong and incorrect.
Right.
That there's really like no room for judging the other person.
Right.
Like you're saying, you were talking about how you saw Trump in this image with Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
Well, Joe Biden has, before he was going to run, I think when it was just the Democrat candidates, when they were choosing the actual running person.
Right.
There was like a scandal with Joe Biden.
Yeah, that, and also there was an image of, not Joe Biden, but like when I watched the documentary, there was an image of like Bill Clinton. That was funny. I was like, what?
And then during the DNC, he was talking about Trump and telling him the Oval Office is something that is respectful and stuff like that. When he was literally getting a blowjob in the Oval Office. Right. And it's good that someone from like I forgot what news channel, like basic. Oh, it was Stephen Colbert.
Yeah,
maybe it was him. I think.
Was it the Daily Show?
I don't know. No, it was, I don't know. I don't remember. I think it was Stephen Colbert.
Okay.
He called him out on it. Like, you really have no room to judge when you were doing these stuff while you were in office and you even got impeached for it.
Right.
But yeah, going back to the Joe Biden thing about, he was like, sort of like hugging these like younger girls.
Right.
And then like sniffing their hair and stuff like that. And then like putting his
bunch of weirdos, man.
But that was Joe Biden. Like,
I know.
And then they sort of like set it off to the side and didn't really talk about it. And then recently, this woman comes out and who worked with him, I think. Maybe, I forgot. Maybe I think she was like an assistant or something. And she comes out because she says that Joe Biden sort of like sexually harassed her and stuff like that. And then everyone basically ignored it.
Yeah.
And didn't talk about it.
I mean, these people just have so much money to just cover things up. But it's just insane. But
I feel like it's their job, the media's job, to call out these stuff.
Yeah. They don't.
If it was Trump, I 100%.
That's what I'm saying. He's such an easy target, man.
That Trump was going to be the headline. Trump, there's a woman that comes out that Trump sexually harassed her. Right. And it would be the headlines. Everyone would be criticizing. And they're not doing the same with Joe Biden, which is not really fair.
Right.
It shows the blatant bias.
Right.
When you're actually supposed to show something objective.
Right.
So people can then decide for themselves how to take that information and then see what they think of it. But if you're just spreading out biased information, they're just going to consume that biased information and think that way, when in reality it's not factually true. Right.
I mean, both sides. That's what I'm saying. Both sides are just finding ways to destroy each other.
Yeah, that's why I don't know why, but I lean towards Republican for some reason, because I feel like they're doing more of a job of trying to get factual things out. Mm-hmm. I know there's other stuff that they have done in maybe I don't agree with, but I lean towards that because Democrats are sort of like, not every Democrat. I don't want to generalize.
Right.
But during the DNC, they're just talking about this thing and not really. They're sort of. They want to get votes for people that support these movements, right?
Right.
But those people are already gonna vote for you.
Right.
Right. I don't think they're gonna switch to Republican just because you might. Vote a different or talk about other stuff that doesn't pertain to the movement of Black Lives Matter. They're already gonna plan on voting for you because they hate Trump, but you're still trying to fuel that, when I think you've reached the limit of Trump hatred.
I mean, they're all trying to push and see how far they can keep their people that sort of follow them to stay solidified. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like. For me, I think that there are for sure a lot of arguments that go back and forth, and I think that even though I would say I lean more like Democratic, there are certain things that I'm just like I don't even want to vote for any of the parties because both of them are on some like really like both of them equally be doing stuff it's just not acceptable whether you're Republican or Democratic, and that's what is difficult. It's because there's only two parties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I don't like and then that. with that being, a lot of people, it's just going to be in a sense like one is going to be more extreme than the other because there's only two.
Yeah, I really don't like that two parties thing. There should really be just someone who has these certain ideas and is running against another person that has these ideas.
Right.
And then they battle it out and see which one is the one that the whole population sort of supports more than the other. One other way that the Democratic convention sort of, I think, didn't really portray something that makes other people want to go out and vote for the Democrats is that their poll numbers dropped after the convention. They dropped, I don't know how many points. So Trump gained the lead. And one of the issues was that they didn't really focus on like rioting in the looting that's been going on,
mm-hmm.
because they never brought it up in any way,
Mm-hmm.
and never talked about it at all. They were sort of just setting it as if something that's not actually happening at all.
Right.
And
this is where they're failing to capitalize on the fact that like this is something they can say in the other way.
Yeah, and sort of care for the people that are being affected by all this destruction.
Right.
Because I've seen like these families. There was this family, or not a family, a couple, that their store literally burned to ashes.
Right.
They're like hard work.
Right.
They really are not someone that's going out and attacking a race or anything.
Right.
They just have a location that's there, and these people that are rioting burn it to the ground, and now they have to literally sort of come back from it.
Yeah.
If they can
if
at
they
all.
can, or find other means to be able to support their
basically
family.
their life is ruined.
Yeah.
Just because their business happened to be right there where people were rioting.
Right.
When these people shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
The protests are fine because you're actually wanting to like voice your opinion of a certain issue. But then all these other extreme things that people are doing that sort of are affecting the point of you protesting, and they bring a negative light to it.
Right. It's difficult though, because in a sense, when there are issues in a country that is really troubling the people, there are always going to be people that are going to be like, hey, this is the opportunity for me to like gain something out of it. You know what I mean? And it's like I guess at this point it's more of a human thing because it happens in other countries too. You know what I mean? So human beings in general, there's a lot of growth that needs to happen, because there are people who are just killing each other because of what they like, believing something extreme, and going after other people, and it's difficult because as we all grow up, we're all not sure about a lot of the narratives that we read about what life is about and the afterlife and stuff like that. Like nobody, like, and it's going to be difficult, but like we haven't. I don't think there is, in a sense, a person that has died long enough for them to come back. In a sense, like it's been too long that they died, they came back, and then we're just like, what was that like? Oh, why? What was happening in those moments? You know, people were like minutes. We've had minutes, but like somebody's died over a day, and they come back without any type of like intervening in the medical like science, and they came back. I think that would just be like solidify what to expect either afterlife or what life is about. You know what I mean?
I think there's like a movie about that where I think a person dies and then they see what the afterlife is, but then they come back and then they start telling these people, and then people just start killing themselves. Mass suicides. Because they know what's going to happen,
right,
and know what it is.
Right.
So if perhaps they're suffering or really don't like what it's like here, then they're just going to end their life,
right,
and go to something that they know might be better,
right,
or for a guarantee know what it is,
right,
that's going to happen next.
Right.
I don't think that's a good idea to...
That is true though.
Yeah.
Because that would I mean, I don't know if certain people would not be able to handle that information in a positive way.
And it can backfire also, because if that person comes back and says,
and it's just a horrible
time, don't die, then people are always going to be living with that idea.
Right.
And it's going to be bothering them for the rest of their life.
Because
not every person, but there's going to be certain people that are affected by that a lot, because that they won't be living their life normal. They'll be thinking, well, this is going to happen in the afterlife. So
I guess the best is just not to know.
Yeah, it's the best way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's best to not know, because then you can enjoy the thing and live it in the now, how you're saying.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be thinking about the future a lot.
Yeah.
And wasting this value of time that you have right now.
Yeah.
Where you actually can control.
Right.
and live through. But we can jump in now to the Jacob Blake.
Yeah, I mean,
at first I thought it was a killing, and then because I just in Facebook they have all these posts. I see them all the time.
I haven't been on Facebook in like weeks because I just logged off. I was like, I'm having too much. I mean, I don't want to get on there and it's too much going on. But then I logged back in and it's just so many notifications. I'm like, this is like it, like the reason why I left anyways. You know what I mean? But apart from that, yeah, I mean, the first time I saw the video, it was actually on Snapchat. Somebody put it on their Snapchat story. When I watched it, I thought it was something that was old. Like old as in like it happened before George Floyd.
Yeah, because the quality is
trash, yeah, the quality was horrible. And I was like,
bro, this guy's just recording it on the flip phone.
Yeah. And so I'm like, this can't be like happening now after we've seen George Floyd. You know what I mean? And then it turns out that it was after George Floyd and it's so recent. So then I think I was having a conversation with my dad and it's just like when I think I mentioned that out of all the deaths that have happened, it had to be George Floyd that really shook the world. And then now there's been another like death. And so now what is going to shake the world now? Because now it's just, we thought that one was going to shake the world and it did. And now there's another.
That idea has happened with every killing of a police and a black person.
Right.
They talk about it. They start maybe protesting.
Yeah.
This happened in Ferguson as well.
Right.
There was also rioting there.
Right.
Under Obama.
Right.
So it's not a Trump issue.
Right.
And they riot or protest, then it dies out.
Right.
Then another person gets killed. The media spreads it. Everyone starts to get angry about it.
Yeah.
Then it dies out. And it's just a cycle.
Right.
That repeats. So for some reason, I don't know, like during this Trump administration, there has it before like COVID. Before 2020, everything was pretty normal, really. I didn't really see much that was sort of bothering a certain demographic as much. I know there's certain like little things.
Yeah.
But I feel like just being locked inside for a long time in quarantine sort of catapulted when people saw this thing. The killing of George Floyd.
Right. Because before, people were just going through their routine.
Yeah.
But now, it seems like they had more time to ingest it, too. Because...
Yeah, but in a sense, people were stressed. People were going through hard times.
Right.
And then this video that is awful comes out, and it sort of ignites something, some anger within a person. That, like I said, catapults their emotions to limits where they have this anger towards the way their life has played out in other people's lives in the U.S. And when I was watching like all this stuff happening, I felt like maybe now this breaks a cycle of being emotional and sort of against the certain like systematic racism that they feel exists. And then it breaks that cycle of just that dying out and then repeating it and then dying out and repeating it.
Yeah. But
it
turns out the cycle still goes.
Still goes, yeah. So I saw on Facebook that the headline I saw was cop shoots black unarmed man 7 times in the back.
Yeah.
I didn't see the video. Well, I saw like a little clip of the video, but all I saw was the guy, the cop pointing the gun at the guy while he's walking away.
Man.
And then that's all I saw. I didn't really pay much attention to it.
Maybe we
like
should.
I do. Like no, I've
seen it.
Yeah,
okay.
I've seen it.
Never mind.
That's the beginning. I'm talking about the beginning.
Okay,
yeah.
I get it.
I'm gonna play out how. And then And then I looked at it again because I also thought that video was old.
Yeah.
Because I knew they were talking about another killing.
Right.
Or shooting of a cop and a black man.
Yeah.
But I didn't make the connection with the article that I saw.
Right.
That said black man shoots 7 times in the back.
Right.
I didn't think they were the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I made the connection, and then I saw the video, and they were shooting him. And then people started posting again all these posts about how no one likes blacks. They're out. LeBron James comes out and says that, like, in the world that he's living now, or something like that, that black people are a target and are always going to be targeted by these cops. I think in one interview he talks about in general, basically saying that sometimes cops wake up and say, oh, well, I had a bad morning, so I'm going to go out and look for a black man and shoot him. That's what he basically said. When I don't think that happens. Like, a cop is going to wake up, maybe spills coffee on his shirt, and then from that decides that he's going to shoot a black man that day. No. That's not something.
I mean, that's for sure. That's not in a realistic way how it's going to play out. But in a situation where, and this is where it's difficult, because, like, I think that in our society, we don't do much to save people, like, whether they do good or bad.
What do you mean?
But like, so after this video, I watched another video of this guy who was like going like between the riots, and he shot somebody, this white guy, and then he was just like, they showed a video of him just like walking, and then the police were just like standing there. And I'm just like, why, like, all of this doesn't add up that well at all. Like, in this mix of just like this situation, it all looks really bad. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, we have...
You know why it looks bad?
Yeah.
Here's the reason. Because the first thing that all these people look towards is just race first.
Right.
So once they look at race, that's all that they see now.
Right.
So when they see these two instances,
right,
where it's a different race,
right,
they sort of assume that is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you don't look at it first like that,
mm-hmm,
you can see, and then look at the facts and see how these situations were completely different.
Right.
Circumstances as well.
Right.
Then you can judge and see that, oh, well, this is the reason why this didn't happen. Right. And then this is the reason why this actually happened.
Right. Right. And that's what, I mean, the media doesn't really do that.
No. That's why
the media,
I feel like they're just messing up.
Yeah. They do stuff like that. It's just really difficult for them to handle. I mean, because, I mean, it's the media, man. What else are they going to do?
Yeah. But that is not the point.
Right.
Because at some point there was just objective media.
Right.
They weren't like sort of out for an agenda or stuff like that. They were just covering the news.
Right.
And they're not doing that now. They're just putting out stuff that when maybe like a black person sees this, they're going to get angry and start saying stuff again.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I was seeing. Like all these clickbait titles, black man, unarmed man gets shot. And that's what everyone's talking about, that this was the reason because they're racist and stuff.
Right.
Now, like a few days ago, more information comes out. So, Jacob is a criminal, basically.
Mm.
He has charges for domestic abuse, sexual assault. He had altercations before with cops where he wasn't complying and basically, I think, assaulted an officer.
Right.
He didn't die then, so
right.
I don't think that shows that there's not much of an issue with cops. Because if the message that a lot of people are trying to portray is that cops are just killing these black people because they're maybe getting assaulted and then they just pull the trigger.
Right.
Well, he did that already, and nothing happened to him.
Right. But in that was in that situation, and that's how they handled it.
Yeah, that's why when people compare, like, oh well, this guy that's walking with a gun during the riots and doesn't get shot by cops while he's just walking around like all nonchalant.
Right.
You can bring that point out and say, well, that's a different situation, and then maybe different cops,
right?
Because not every person thinks the same or reacts the same to certain things. So Jacob Blake was a criminal, and then there was a woman that I think he's in a relationship with, or was, and is the person that he sexually assaulted. He went to her home and stole her keys, I think, to the car. So she dials 911 and tells them that Jacob
was she the one that was running around?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know. All I know is some information, not specific persons. So she calls 911 and says, full name Jacob Blake. Has my keys and he doesn't want to give them back to me. So the cops go.
Right.
And then they look up his name and see his record.
Right.
And see that he has been uncompliant with cops before. It has this domestic abuse and sexual assault charges. And he also has an open warrant on him. Mm-hmm. So that makes him basically like a criminal that is a target for the cops to come and get.
Yeah, right.
So they get there, and then he doesn't comply. They tell him that he needs to go. Then he puts one of the cops in a headlock, and they tase him. And nothing happened. Basically, the taser doesn't do anything to him. He basically just plays it off.
What? They couldn't apprehend this guy, man.
And then they shoot another taser, and that doesn't work at all either.
What?
And I think Jacob was saying that he has a knife. That's what he was saying, that he had a knife. So once he like gets loose, he walks to his car, and they were telling him not to do that. And then once he reaches in the car, because he said he had a knife, then the cops shoot him.
Yeah.
And I thought he died, but then I saw that he's not. That was paralyzed.
Like what?
He took 7 shots. Well, first of all, he took 2 tasers.
Yeah.
And then he took 7 shots, and he's still alive. But, I mean, this is all information that, if you're looking into it, well, the cops tried several times, failed, and still was not compliant.
Right.
And then says that he has a weapon and goes and tries to get the weapon.
Right.
And later on, they found that he did have a knife in the bottom, I think, the seat of the car, where he was reaching in. And then the cop had no choice but to shoot him.
Yeah, I guess, had no choice. That's what he decided. But
he decided to do other stuff before that, going to that first.
But he literally, they brought, it's almost like they brought a gun to a knife fight pretty much. But I mean, in a sense, like the way the situation was handled by those cops was just horrible. What was
horrible about it though?
The horrible part about not being able to like apprehend him physically. You know what I mean? I mean, we've seen cops put somebody in a chokehold and die. But like, I'm not saying that should be happening, but I'm just saying it didn't seem like how, like we have like how, I don't know how many cops I saw in the video, but.
Which one? The Jacob?
Yeah.
I think it was 2.
Only 2 cops?
Yeah.
Okay. But in a sense, if
2 tasers can't take you down, then I don't think 2 cops can.
If 2 tasers can take you down and 2 cops can't, I mean, they can stand off. They can do a standoff because in a sense, these people can just be like, if they're going to point the guns at him and he has to be insane to be able to still, in this like timeline, to still like try and fight the cops with guns on him knowing he's black, then he's just like not really thinking straight at all. You know what I mean? First of all. And then, I mean, apart from that, it's just really difficult to really justify how some people are already saying that like he should not have died at all. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the situation can be handled way better than they handled it. Like I said, they could have had a standoff, so they could have the guns pointed at him, call him back up. I don't know how many guns it's going to take for this guy to just stand down, but I don't think that at the end of the day, the cops are like, we need to kill this guy before like the end of the night for some, like, you know what I mean? This guy did not have to die.
Well, he didn't die.
And he didn't die, but he didn't have to be in a position where he would be dying. You know what I mean? Because
he caused the situation,
right? But this is where I come back to the fact that like the system doesn't really create a scenario to save people. Like, if this is somebody that's gone through these experiences in domestic violence, and there's a record of that, why isn't this guy ever been put into some kind of like some place to help him mentally? You know what I mean?
Do you think a person like that would go
not go voluntarily, but there's going to be certain things that should be in place to be able to force him to be able to take this option.
Attend like classes.
Right, attend classes. Like if
what
he
if
doesn't,
he just goes to the classes but doesn't really register or take in information? He just goes because he's forced to.
I just think that we should give him that chance before he ends up later doing something like this, which gets him killed. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's and then the reason why I say that is because it's difficult to think, like, people, like, when America gets involved in wars in other countries, those people in those countries that they have the war in, there are innocent people that die there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's American soldiers in the name of helping the country affecting and killing all these people. So are we, in a sense, is America going to really save people? And this is where like the value of lives is just like gets shifted, because the value, like some of the lives of the value of the lives of some of the people that live there isn't taken into consideration when the war is going on, because there's the bigger picture of delivering democracy. You know what I mean? So like there are people whose families are getting highly affected by the fact that like this war is happening, but they'll say that America won the war, but the war that America won, there are people that are severely suffering from it, like stuff like that. And then in a sense, like, the world isn't doing much of like preventing people from dying enough. The world is justifying killing certain people in the name of like keeping more people safe, where it would be better if nobody was dying at all.
It would be better, but I don't think you could really have like a discussion with another like leader or organization that is sort of attacking their own people.
Right.
And then us trying to go in and have a conversation and say, well, maybe we shouldn't do these things. That way all these people could live.
Yeah.
All those people that are doing these bad things are extremists.
Right.
And are not going to have that conversation.
Right.
So if we don't go and intervene and try and save more lives, then we're just going to sort of cause many more lives to die because we're not going to intervene.
And I'm not saying there's an answer to it, but I just think that the solution or the way we're going about it even now is not necessarily, sometimes it's not justified. Well, it can be justified in a certain way if you present it a certain way, and then now it can be, like I said,
it's like
for some people they've won the war. For other people, this war has like created a lot of really devastating scenarios.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. So that's why I'm saying, like, in general, the world is just like still trying to figure out how to live peacefully.
Yeah, and that's really something hard to achieve because a lot of people have a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
And stick to that way of thinking because they're not really open-minded, and it will be a really long time if it even happens, where there's actual complete peace in the world. But going back to this situation, if you say like maybe Jacob should have been put into some classes where he doesn't commit these actions anymore, then you could also say maybe the woman shouldn't have called the cops. Then,
I mean, the woman. But also, I don't think the woman was calling the cops for the cops to get here and potentially shoot him, either.
Oh well, of course, no one ever calls the cops.
Right.
Just
so then, that's why it's just like the scenario is just like horrible, because there's.
What if she did want something bad to happen to him?
Well,
because a new statement came out that she says that. Well, the way she got sexually assaulted, so he walked in and said, "Give me my shit." Right. He said, and then he goes, and she's laying next to her children. Right. He goes and basically fingers her forcefully.
What?
And then sniffs it and says, "It smells like other guys have been here."
What?
That's what he says. And then she was saying that it's really uncomfortable to give you guys, the cops, these statements. Mm-hmm. And says that maybe around like twice a year, stuff like this happens because he gets like really drunk. Right. And starts to do these things to me, and I'm traumatized by it. Right. And it has really affected me, right. She says.
No, considering that, I mean, for sure, I still wouldn't say that he should have died. The only reason why I'm saying that is because it seems like in his timeline, his record of living, there weren't any scenarios where people were able to stop some of the events from reoccurring in the way that it's led to this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's what is troubling me. It's because, I mean, we live here and we're going to grow up, and hopefully at some point, and I'm not too sure about the whole kids thing because of what so much is going on here, because I'm a little bit on, like, not on the edge, but in a sense, the world is just going crazy all the time, and just keep hearing a lot of like really bad things, and it's difficult to be optimistic. But I'm also somebody that's been trying to practice being in it now and being more optimistic. And that's
why I don't like how the media portrays things so easily, that everything is racist, right, and everything is caused because there's racism involved, right, and then it builds fear into people, right, when there really shouldn't be fear. Because even LeBron James is saying like, well, I have kids and I don't want them to grow into like a place where cops are killing innocent black people all the time. Right. But like LeBron James is not living in the inner city where there's a lot of violence. Right. He's up in like a rich place, right, in his like mansion, and has like his percentage or likelihood of that thing to happen is really low. Right. But he's talking about fear like that, where I don't think there should be fear like that coming from a person like that, when the actual fear should be from people that are living in these places that are really violent and have more interactions with cops, if they think that cops are literally out there targeting black people all the time. Right. Like Michelle Obama was saying in her speech in the DNC, she's saying that there's a never-ending list of black people getting killed. But then there's people say their names, and then there's like 15 people that have been shot by unjustly.
I mean, there's cops. More than 15. I've seen it listed.
I've seen the well, this is just a number, but it's a ending list. Right. There is an end to it. Right. It's not like every single black person is out there getting shot by cops. Right. I think her point is putting it out like if it is like that, right, when it's not. Right. And it's built something into these people's mind that has built fear. Right. When there shouldn't be that fear.
I mean, part of the fear is created, but also part of the fear comes from, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've learned this, but like the whole airplane crashing phenomenon, where like there probably are airplane crashes that are happening that we don't know about, or it's covered, but if the news starts covering more of airplane crashes, people will probably stop flying. because it's going to create that fear of flying. It's going to create the reality that it's not real, but it's going to create some type of reality in people's mind that every time they get on a plane, they're at a risk of potentially not coming down. Whereas, I mean, when you get on, there is that risk. You know what I mean? They don't tell you. Nobody's ever going to tell you. But like, for some people, it's in the back of their mind. Some people, it's not. But it's also, this is something that human beings have improved a lot on. But I mean, it's still happening. And so that, with that being said, the fear that's created through the media, I mean, part of it is for sure created through the media because it's just replayed all the time. You know what I mean? But some of it just needs to be seen because it is happening. So like, people don't say that something like this is not happening. You know what I mean?
People don't say that it's not happening.
Right.
It is happening, and it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just not the sort of mass
right
that a lot of people think it is.
Right. It is not. But it shouldn't be at all in the first place, I think, because like with that, she talks about the never ending list, and obviously there is an end because it's not happening every day. But I mean, in a perfect world, that list should not ever exist. You know what I mean? So like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of it is just like we human beings are just still in this really long ride of figuring out how to make it all work together.
Yeah, and I think that there are sort of instances where cops are killing white people or other races and they're not brought up at all.
Yeah.
Why is it that only this instance, or when a cop shoots a black person, that's when it's all brought up to light?
Well, why is it? But because, I mean, I think there is some facts that, or some information that shows the numbers and the difference in the numbers. But also there are certain things that are just like not, it doesn't really match up. Because I don't think I've heard of a black man who has decided to like shoot up a place in a way that like there will be other like people from other races that I have. Maybe they have, but maybe it's never been covered before, so that would be another issue.
What do you mean? Like a black person shooting
like a mall or a school or some shit like that. I don't think I've ever heard.
There was I don't know his name, but there was a guy that was walking around with a rifle. He was black.
Right.
And then I don't know if he shot other people, but the cops were there and they took him like that. Like how other people are comparing with like school shooters where they sort of don't shoot them once they see him. Right. They literally like handcuff them and then take them without like any altercation. Right. But I'm talking about like cops killing white people.
No, I mean, that is probably, I mean, if it's happening, then if it is happening, why is it not coming to the news? Or is it
because there's an agenda?
I mean, there is the agenda, but like, if it's happening in that mass, there's no way that like somebody couldn't really cover it. Like if it's happening that much.
It is. I believe it does happen more often. And a lot of people sort of push aside that fact by saying that, well, there's more white people in the U.S., so of course there's going to be more cops killing white people. But even with that, like how you're saying, there shouldn't be any deaths like that. Right. But nobody's covering stuff like that is happening.
Maybe we should just be the new.
Well, I wanted to do in Facebook something. It was, it was gonna be. I was gonna look up every black person that has died today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next day, and just put them up and see how and show how they died, why they died, how old they were. Basically how what's obituary, right? Basically kind of like that, just to prove a point that a lot of people that say Black Lives Matter aren't really meaning it. They're just saying it because it's something cool to say, right?
And which is troubling.
Yeah,
it really is.
And one that proves that point is during the initial protests, there was a cop, a veteran, retired veteran cop, black man, old, and he was there, part of the protest, and then the protesters literally shoot him in the chest. What? There's a video of it. Shoot him in the chest.
The protesters, or the like an actual somebody that was protesting?
Well, it's within those people. So I'm not sure, but nobody was helping at all. They shoot him in the chest, and he's there lying there on the ground, and he's like still alive during the video, and then he dies.
What?
No one talked about it.
What?
No one. You know his name?
Who?
The guy?
No.
Have you heard of this story?
No, I've never heard of it.
See?
Yeah.
There's an agenda that's being placed. I forgot his name, actually. But,
I mean, yeah. There's.
And his family was in the Republican convention.
Oh, really?
They were in the crowd.
Right.
And I believe his wife spoke and gave a speech in the last day of the convention. I think it was maybe like 4 or 5 people before Trump. And then during Trump's speech, he also like pointed them out in the crowd and mentioned what had happened and how he's trying to like bring light to this situation.
Right.
Because nobody else did.
Right.
When they're saying Black Lives Matter.
Right.
But then he dies from people who are for that movement, and no one says anything.
Well, I don't think that people who are for that movement, who actually are for that movement in the fact that like they're supporting the progression of black people in America, would kill another black man. I think somebody involved. No. Yeah, for somebody
but
involved.
I think the Black Lives Matter movement, they were in support of that.
They're in support of
the Black Lives Matter movement.
What do you mean?
Not pushing progression, how you're saying,
right,
of blacks.
Right.
They were just part of the Black Lives Matter.
Oh yeah, they were part. Like, okay, I see.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I'm trying to say.
So like part of the movement, as in like they were physically there, not as in the movement, as in like the Black Lives movement itself.
There's a lot of people that are against the organization Black Lives Matter, but they are for the sort of not core idea, but the idea that they want to push more equality for black people.
Right.
Because I think the Black Lives Matter organization, they have views of Marxism, but I'm not sure. A lot of people like talk about negatively towards Marxism ideas, because I think they're like really violent and sort of look towards answers where you really don't care about other people's sort of thoughts and opinions, and it's sort of like an extremist way of viewing things, where if there's a solution to something that is probably bad, they'll do it anyways because they're gonna achieve this without other people's like sort of feelings and sort of damage that they're gonna cause to surrounding people.
Right.
I think that's their like main core ideology, but like the movement itself, that's something different.
Right. I mean, in like as in the movement, using like the physical marching of people going, right? Is what you're talking
and the
about.
idea of wanting equality.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's not what the organization wants. The organization wants blacks to be superiority.
Really?
I think.
No, it's not.
No, I think it is.
No, I don't. The reason why
the reason why you don't think it is because you're seeing what it has like sort of lowered to.
But if that's if even if that was their agenda, you know what I mean, that would be something that they would put on the website.
The leader
says that they want black people to be like superior in a sense.
I'm not using exact quotes.
Oh, okay.
I'm just right now.
Speculating.
Not speculating, but right now I'm trying to remember what their core idea, the organization, like the Is it a woman that started that?
I can't remember.
I think it is a woman that started that. But like her core ideas and the people who have built the organization. Mm-hmm. But I'm not talking about the people who support the movement.
Oh, okay. Now, see, that makes sense. Because that could be the case. But that would be so wrong. That would be like so bad because
it would
be really bad. But like that's what I'm saying. Like this is like another, like a human being that is just like thinking too extreme. Like we all need to be living together. We don't want only black people to be here. Like black people, white people, all the people need to be together. And it's just
there needs to be unity.
Yeah.
And for some reason I feel like the Democrats are creating what were you saying earlier? Something that's opposite to unification. You were saying that the Republicans were portraying an idea of exclusion,
right?
Something like that.
Or in inclusiveness.
Oh yeah.
Right, and that's why, and this is where it comes back to like how I say like they're both like attacking each other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's just both parties are so far apart that it's so difficult for them to be able to even work together, because they all put yourself in a position to be able to say this person is.
Here's the thing though, even if there is no way of working together, right? Because when there's people that want to lean towards and sort of say things that the other person has views on, mm-hmm. So like if you were the Democrat and then you started speaking about like some of the ideas that you liked that I had,
right? Since
I'm like a Republican,
right?
They would kick you out,
right? Exactly,
for doing that. But the Republicans wouldn't do that really. They wouldn't have to. They'll just argue their way out. I feel like they're just going to be like both sides would just be like arguing back and forth, and then there'll be nothing done because of like how extreme both sides would be thinking about it. No, but you know what I meant, right? When I told you that the Democrats would kick you out of their party for thinking of my ideas.
Well, if they want to, I guess they probably will. I mean, I don't think that in a sense there are some Republicans who will like be able to accept how some Democrats feel about certain things. And so that's where it's just like both parties are just so incredibly good at just like making sure they solidified some of their views, man.
Yeah, totally agree with that. We can talk about the guy that you were mentioning earlier as well, the white guy.
Which white guy? I mean,
what did you see?
Well, the video I saw was of him just like walking through the street and he was about to be apprehended. But obviously, they're going to just tie that into how, in a sense, he's getting to walk pretty much after killing, I don't know how many people, like one or two people. He's being able to just like walk freely and just like, and then obviously the media is just going to show it in that way. In a sense, like he's just walking and nobody's apprehending him. But I mean, it's such a difficult situation to handle. Like you're a cop and like there's somebody with a gun. You know what I mean? I feel like cops just like their job just needs to be somehow.
Well, we talked about this
out
in the first episode.
Right.
We're saying that instead of the funding,
right,
we should fund and to have more resources to get the best of the best,
right,
and train these officers daily,
right,
maybe like an hour or two,
right,
because that way they're trained for circumstances, and then you weed out the people who are mentally weak, mm-hmm, and are afraid, and then as soon as their life is threatened,
right,
we'll pull out a gun and
right,
start shooting.
Yeah,
and weed those people out and have the strongest mentally people there.
Mm-hmm.
That way you lower these altercations that happen with any person
dying.
Yeah, from like a shooting. But yeah, I was seeing that. I saw an image. I didn't see a video. the little kid, not little kid, but he's 17 years old. The kid, I guess, people want to try him as an adult, which basically an adult, really.
Yeah.
A young adult.
I mean, that's somebody's...
But yeah, the guy is the picture. You see him with a gun.
Yeah.
And he has like his cap and stuff.
Yeah.
And you see like the caption, like, this guy was signaling to the cops, and then the cops just let him go by.
Right.
And then I didn't have much of an opinion, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait and see until I get all the details before I make my opinion on it, or sort of my reaction to it.
I mean, first reaction, I was like, this is not... I mean, obviously, if I was standing there, either way, like, it's really difficult to handle that type of situation, because you don't know if he's just going to pull out the gun and start spraying people. Like he might be walking really calm, but like, what if he's just like turns around and just start going crazy on people, man?
I'm gonna play like the video. Someone made like all angles synced.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to give.
Oh, consent.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to receive consent.
Yeah, I have to rewind because I was watching it earlier.
I was gonna say, it's only 20 seconds long.
No.
What? There's actual what? I haven't seen that.
Well, because they were protesting.
Right.
And so we're looking at an image. One of the guys is trying to take him down, or took him down. Actually, yeah. But he's not one of the guys that died.
Right.
The guy that actually died is the guy that's coming with the skateboard.
Oh.
So he's already knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy in the skateboard is wanting to come and smash the skateboard on his head.
Okay.
Oh, I actually put play on the remote instead of the computer. So there he actually managed to. And then a guy who people haven't been talking about had a gun. And you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up? Really? Oh, the kid is getting interviewed. Our job is to protect this business. Part of my job is to help there's somebody hurt. I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle. That's why I protect myself, obviously. That's all my med kit. This guy in the red shirt is the first guy that died.
Hmm.
You see, there's more people that have guns.
Yeah.
So these people were called in, not called in, but they went in to help sort of protect innocents, I guess.
What?
So you see him, right?
Yeah.
And he's saying racial slurs.
Right.
But people are putting like images of poor guy, like innocent guy, just no harm. Oh, by the way, these two people that died, they have criminal records and sexual offenders as well.
What?
So they start chasing him for some reason.
Which one? The guy in the red shirt?
So the group of people there, I think they started chasing the guy.
Which guy?
The guy that's killed the two people.
Oh, the guy that was wearing the hat.
Yeah.
The 17-year-old kid.
17-year-old kid. His name is Kyle. No, not Kyle. Something. I think it is Kyle or Justin, something like that. Yeah, so this is before he started. He shot anyone. Oh. They started chasing him. I don't know why. And then he's over there up top. You see him?
Oh, yeah, I see him.
So right now, he already shot the guy. He shot him in the head. He shot the guy in the red. He shot him in the head. And then right now he's on his phone. And right now I think the report came out that he called like a friend or something and told him that this happened. That he shot someone. So he started running. And this is graphic images. No one's gonna see it except for you, but... Yeah, so...
What?
Yeah, he shot him. But then, if you look down here, people are chasing him, really, I think. So he's running now. But you know where he's running towards?
The cops?
Yeah. So there they attacked him. So the skateboard guy, when he attacked, he got shot in the chest. And then, I don't know if they're gonna replay it. But basically 3 people attacked him. One knocked him down. And the other guy came with a skateboard and hit him. Or tried to hit him.
Right.
In the head. He got shot in the chest.
Right.
So he's gone.
Right.
And then another guy comes up and he has a pistol.
What?
And is about to shoot him in the head. And so
this is literally like
he's to his left, right?
Right.
The guy that has the AR, he's knocked down. To his left is the guy that's coming up with his pistol, like ready, almost like maybe like a second, and Kyle is dead.
What?
But Kyle has his gun on the other guy that knocked him down first.
Right.
And the guy has like his arms up.
Right.
And so he doesn't shoot him at all. But then he sees that the other guy has the gun.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know how, but he literally like points, shoots, and shoots him in the arm.
What?
And the guy like goes like that. Because obviously he got shot. Yeah. And he runs.
What?
And then from there, I think he got up and he started walking towards the cops. And I think the cops weren't even near this, so they didn't know what happened. They're not included in any information. So if you look here, he's running. He's going towards the cops. And then he's going to put his hands up. Yeah, he just has his hands up. And then, because the cops don't know what happened, and don't know, like, that it was him that did anything, they just drive past. They drive past him. They don't even, like, do anything.
What?
But that's because they don't know anything. Look.
What? This is insane, dude.
Yeah. But there's more shots.
There's more shots?
There's more shots, but not from him. Oh. I don't know. Other people were shooting.
Yeah.
So the cops don't know that he did anything at this point.
Right.
Because they weren't even there.
Right.
So if they're saying like they're letting him pass by, knowing that he just killed 2 people. They didn't know.
Right.
So when people were saying that he was signaling to the cops, like something, and then the cops just like sort of ignored him, they were saying, "Oh, he's working with the cops." He gave him a signal.
What? I didn't hear people were saying that.
They were saying that. I saw that he was giving them a signal because they're working together, so that way they know that they should let him by. But what he was saying is that something about 3 people, that he shot 3 people and that he didn't know what to do, he said. And then he goes. He just, like, I guess the cops for some reason didn't, like, register it. I don't know. So he just goes and then drives back home and sleeps the night, and then they arrest him.
What?
But he basically turned himself in, I think.
I mean, it seems like, well, that's what he was trying to do.
He was trying to do that, but for some reason they weren't like aware that he was the one that actually did it. I guess. Because
I guess they're probably used to not seeing the person that shoots somebody surrender.
No, and then there's other people with guns there, so if someone's saying like, "Oh, this guy has a gun and he just shot 2 people,"
right? Well, which one? right.
You know, and so like that signaling was not something that's secret with.
I didn't know that like that narrative was even put out.
No, that was put out, and that was
one of the narrative that I saw that was put out.
That was the first narrative that I saw.
The narrative that was put out. It's just like all they said is just like in
how
America,
come this doesn't happen to this white guy?
Yeah, right. And I was like, well, why not? So then this is really just like covers all the areas, all the missing information that should be presented. Should be presented. Yeah.
But a lot of people just go out and say their opinion without like knowing the facts.
This is what I was talking about, like how a lot of our generation doesn't know how to go out and seek and even analyze information well.
Yeah, and even like when articles put out a title, sometimes in the article itself they don't even talk about it. So like they share these headlines, and then don't look into it because I recall there was a article that was talking about an asteroid that was gonna pass by Earth, and it was really close that if anything happened it would come to Earth. And then I read the article, or like it's for sure gonna hit Earth.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that.
I read the article and it says like, and literally in the article it says, oh, there's no way this asteroid is gonna hit Earth.
So why are you
so why are you like scaring people that this asteroid has a chance of hitting Earth
when it has
literally in the article you're saying like, oh, this is like miles apart, even like farther than the moon, and it's not gonna hit Earth at all.
Dang, man. So the media just
and it's also the people, because they're not going out there and looking for actual like all the details, and like how you sometimes do is you try to see maybe other viewpoints that you're not accustomed to or wouldn't really like be as part of like your viewpoints, just to see what they're saying, and this lies with that, where you really like look into more about these situations, and then all these people that are like calling the guys that died heroes because they're trying to stop the guy from like shooting other people or stuff like that.
They're missing
information, and then these guys are criminals that are sexual offenders and have also assaulted people. They're not heroes in my eye. They're of course lives that probably shouldn't have ended there. But this kid, well, I don't know why I keep calling him kid, but this guy felt like he was being attacked by these people, and multiple people, not just one person. And so he had a way of defending himself. So the first guy, like, he's saying racial slurs. Like I've seen like people saying racists should die and stuff like that. This guy is like saying racial slurs, and he shouldn't be saying that stuff. Especially to like other people. And then like there's black people around and they don't really care. But then if another person says it, they're gonna be like screaming and shouting that why they're trying to like,
I mean, certain people react to it differently. I mean, it's not like everywhere I go people are calling me the N-word in a racist way, but if anyone would, my reaction wouldn't be like out of anger, because I know like I'm fine with myself. It's you that have a problem with me. You know what I mean? So if you don't like me and you call me N-word, then you have a problem. But I know who I am, and I'm fine with who I am. But you just seem to be fine. You're not fine with who I am, which is not your problem. That's not my problem. You know what I mean? So I think part of it is just like the way I've learned to understand that is because I don't want I feel like certain people don't think of it that way, and so then it gets more internalized in a way. So like if somebody, like I guess maybe a different reaction with somebody call me N-word, I'll get like angry and then try and fight them. You know what I mean?
But
whereas
I don't think you're like a person that would do that.
Right, I wouldn't do that because it's not gonna, like, it's, if anything, it's just gonna make the situation worse. I'm not saying that like I want the situation to keep going, but if he's angry at me because I'm only standing here, if I engage with him, I'm not sure what he's gonna do next, out of hatred.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that's why that guy got shot.
Right.
Well, he was sort of aggravating towards him.
Right.
So he felt some sort of danger.
Right.
And I think he like threw something at him.
I mean,
I don't know if it was. Some people were saying it was a that fire cocktail thing.
Oh.
I think that's what they were saying, that he threw it at 17-year-old.
Yeah.
So he shot him in the head. And then the other guys.
There's so many things wrong with this whole situation.
Yeah.
Like the altercation. First of all, there's a 17-year-old with an AR. What?
Yeah. I don't think if he was 18 and then was in, this is in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was 18, then yeah, he would be legally
he could
able
legally
to
carry
carry
a firearm. Yeah.
And then a lot of people are saying, oh, he like crossed state lines because he came from a different state. And when I read that, I was imagining like he fucking came from California all the way to Wisconsin. He came from Illinois, and his drive was 20 minutes.
What?
And people are like saying like drove state lines. He like shot two people in this state, then went back to his state and slept. I'm like, bro, this guy fucking drove like 10 hours. He drove 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he was running, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was running towards the cops.
Right.
And I guess maybe like turning himself in or telling him what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then these other people come out and start chasing him and then attack him.
Right.
So it was either that guy's life or his life. And he felt like he needed to take action and shoot. Because the other guy, people haven't brought out, he had a gun, the other guy, and was about to shoot him in the head. But people haven't said that at all.
Right.
I haven't heard it from any other person besides the people that I watch on YouTube.
it's if you're not doing extensive like techniques to find information, then the media is just going to mislead you easily. And then you start filling in the blanks with what you want, pretty much, or the media will fill it in for you.
Yeah. Basically that's what all the facts are for this situation. And I mean, people just gotta base off their opinions off these, really.
Yeah.
And if you want to compare with the Jacob Blake situation, it's up to you, but I don't think there really should be any comparison, really.
Right.
These are different instances,
different places,
and then different people, and that's how it is with every situation, really.
Right.
It's not always going to be the same with everybody, and not going to be the same with races as well,
right?
Or different with races. So everything is just out in the open,
right?
And it's just the individuals that are involved that have to make literally split decisions of what's going to happen. Yeah. Because if they don't, maybe they die or the other person dies.
Right, because if he dies, the story would have been these two heroes killed this man that shot two men, or he shot one guy and then was running off.
If the guy that got shot in the arm, they would have been saying the hero kills
this man that killed this gunman who shot the guy who was saying the racial slurs. That's not going to be the headline, but that should be the headline. You know what I mean? Because this guy was provoking this guy.
Racist person dies. Racist person got shot in the head. And then the other guy who's, I don't know, a sexual offender, I think, gets shot in the chest.
Right.
And then I think the guy that got shot in the arm, I think he also has some charges, but they're like really minor. They're not as big as the other two.
Dude, that's crazy. So this is what's been happening the last couple of.
I think it's only been like 1 week.
It's been this one has been 1 week.
This one is 1 week, and then Jordan, not Jordan, no.
George Floyd.
Jacob.
Oh,
it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, there's been new information about George Floyd as well. Autopsy came out that he had a lot of fentanyl in his body, enough to kill a horse.
What?
And if the cops wouldn't have like put his knee on the guy, on George, they probably would have found him in his home dead.
What?
Because of the amount of fentanyl he had in his body. And there's another video that came out before the original video. Event-wise, time-wise, where I guess they were asking him to like cooperate and come out of his car. And then once they finally get him out of his car, they try to put him in the cop car. And then he's like saying that he can't breathe and stuff like that. And then he's saying that he won't go in the cop car because he's claustrophobic and he can't breathe. And then that he says at some point, I have coronavirus.
What?
Yeah, and then he was saying a lot like I can't breathe and stuff way before the what you saw in the original video.
Right.
But I mean, even with all that and new information, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that the cops doing what they did is just
it makes sense.
I'm just including more information that should be brought to light and should also like sort of make you not surprised if the cops aren't charged for like first degree murder or stuff like that, because George was probably gonna die either way, even if he wasn't
so if he wasn't apprehended by the cops,
he probably would have died with the amount of fentanyl that he had in
that's
his system.
Unfortunate. So now that's like another thing, that's like another whole thing that he's involved in that is putting him in the situation that he is, which has led to the situation that he's gotten into, which led to the situation where
there's also new information on another case.
What?
Brianne Taylor.
Yeah.
You know how people were saying that she's like innocent and was in a situation where there was really no case. The cops don't knock on the door; they just budge in, and then her boyfriend, I think, gets startled and thinks it's someone there to rob them. So he pulls out his gun and shoots. So when the cops come in, they shoot, and then Brianne Taylor gets shot and dies. Well, the cops, I believe, had a no-knock warrant.
A no-knock warrant?
Yeah, so there's a knock warrant where they have to literally announce themselves that they're the cops. But they had the no-knock warrant where they didn't have to announce themselves. They couldn't just go into the room.
That's who creates something like this? Because if you're on the other end, how do you know that they're not gonna knock so that it's okay for them to come in, realizing that they're not gonna knock? You know what I mean?
Well, the point I think is you catch them by surprise,
right?
Because they were out looking for someone that was in connection, that was receiving these drug packages, and it turns out Brianne Taylor, who seemed to look innocent and was no part of it. Well, it looks like she had part of it, and it was the person that was, sort of connected with the people that were receiving these drugs.
The distribution.
Yeah. So the cops had the no-knock warrant, so you really can't judge them for not knocking and announcing themselves because they had the warrant of not doing that. And then the guy gets startled because he obviously probably knows that they're going to get busted.
Right.
He shoots, and then it's sad that she was there and caught the shot instead of the other guy.
Right.
But she did have part in it. It wasn't like she was just some random innocent person that was in the room and got shot by cops that weren't announcing themselves.
Right.
That they were there. But even with that, like all these things, I'm not justifying actions from
No, I'm just saying.
I'm not trying to defend if people that are listening are taking my views as like for cops or
it's just racist. Like there's so many. As it turns out, there's just so many missing pieces of information.
They have to take
relevant to what the headline puts out.
Yeah, and that's where I go back to where maybe it wasn't so much of an issue of racist cops committing those actions. Maybe it was just happened to be black.
Right. So then they shouldn't put this in the same.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to like judge you, but I feel like you have that sort of not mindset, but idea where you kind of relate things to race.
Right.
Because last episode we mentioned about the kid that got shot.
The little kid that
got shot.
The other kid that was riding the bike. Yeah.
When I talked about it, I mentioned the race, right?
Right.
But then when I sort of played out the events, I was just saying the guy came out and shot the kid.
Right.
And then you were saying the black guy came out and shot the white kid.
Oh, so it wasn't a black guy?
It was.
Wait, I'm confused now.
Yeah, okay, but you put race into it.
In saying that the black guy shot the white kid?
I told you he was black.
Oh, right? Okay. I don't.
But when I played out the what happened, the scenario, I never mentioned race.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay.
I was just saying the guy and then the kid. And
that's then the good, guy, though, because that's where there was a lack of awareness and more of an assumption.
Yeah, and then I noticed that you knew that because I told you that he was black.
Right.
When you laid out the scenario also, like just to reiterate,
right,
you put in black guy walked up to the white kid,
right,
and shot him.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's something like that I noticed while you were talking.
Right.
I was like, it's really interesting that he included the race.
Right.
I mean, I don't. It's not bad, but I'm just saying you included it, and then I didn't. I just felt like it was strange. I don't know why.
I mean, maybe there is some kind of association to maybe how that story was relating to maybe another story that we're talking about. So then once probably I made that association unconsciously, and then when I talked about
that's what I'm saying. Maybe the sort of all these stuff that are happening in the media portraying racism a lot.
Right.
People are seeing race a lot with everything.
Right.
And not really just looking at it.
No, that totally makes sense.
Plainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's other stuff that you want to mention.
I mean, apart from that, I think in conclusion, one thing that I can say that I hope, but in a sense, the future, we don't know much about the future. Everything that has to do with the future has to happen now. You know what I mean? And so I think I mentioned a couple of times how we as human beings have a long way to go in like figuring out how to live together. You know what I mean? Like look at all these moments that you pointed out, this very thing that you noticed. It's fairly easy to be. I think that both sides do a really good job of presenting certain ideas well enough to be able to capture somebody's mind and make them think about certain people a certain way easily because of the way they present the information. And I think they know that they're doing that. And with that being said, they're able to capture certain people who don't have the ability like you do sometimes. And sometimes I do it, but I guess I didn't pay attention really well. But we both have the understanding of looking things in a bigger picture and trying to fill in a lot of the blanks that most people don't either take the time to do it, don't realize they can take the time to do it, don't realize it's the better way to be able to start forming how you're going to think or see or believe about certain things. Because you're grabbing the information you're going through a system where you grab the information in a way that is more factual and more objective and more in a truthful way versus what we see in the media. People don't. I mean, I'm pretty sure the media knows that like people are not going to take the time to look into the article and read and then follow up with other articles to see if that's why they did so quick. Like some of them are like a page long for something that's super serious, super serious. And I'm just like, what? I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm reading, I'm just like, wait, that's it? And then I'm just like, and then you went through this really good analysis and pointed all those things out. And if you're not doing that, it's too easy. The media's got you like so easily.
Yeah. They're not like doing their job really.
Yeah.
The core value of what journalism is and the ethics of it is to be objective as possible.
Right.
And to just lay out the story and news that happens.
Right.
Without any like hidden agenda or some person sort of like over the shoulder.
Right.
Looking and making sure that you're saying it a certain way to reach a certain type of person. Mm-hmm. Because that's how it is now. They're making these articles to portray an image of something towards this group of people. Mm-hmm. And then they look at that message that you're putting out and get sort of angered or want to sort of build up some sense of justice, I guess.
Right.
Because they think that these bad things are happening.
Right.
Or swayed in a certain way.
Yeah.
When they're not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, they do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So like even for the example you talked about the media, right? Because I remember seeing that in the news and then reading a little bit about it, but I didn't go into depth to read all about it like you did and finding out that this thing wasn't even close to like coming close to the earth.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, I'm pretty sure if it was gonna hit Earth, everyone would be notifying everyone that it's gonna be here, and it's definitely gonna hit Earth,
right.
Or has a very high chance of hitting Earth.
Right.
That people should be aware.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just gonna read the article and see what it says, and it's just some dumb shit. And I was reading an article because I was trying to look up the names of those guys that died.
Right.
And I saw an article, and they have this like sort of bold thing and says, who was this person? Mm-hmm. So they named the first person that died, and then what they literally put is like a guy who got shot in this thing. That's all they put.
What?
Yeah. They don't really like take the time and research like, oh well, this guy was this. They have the age, but like, he has committed these crimes and then stuff like that. All they really put like, who is this guy? Mm-hmm. They say, guy that got shot. So
like, then they're really? They're only saying that because it's short and it's to the point, but it's missing so much.
Yeah, and then for the guy that shot the guys, they're pulling out like, oh, he's a Trump supporter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, so you have time to get information of him, but not these other guys.
Right.
Like,
right. No, I think
you can't hide really. The media, for some reason, I guess they think they're slick, but they're blatantly like showing what their ideologies are.
Right.
And their biases and hidden agendas that they want to put out.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to be aware of that, but for me,
don't be afraid to look for stuff like that.
Right.
Because someone could be afraid of looking more into information and then maybe giving out their opinion.
Right.
And then they're looked down upon.
Right. Because
they really look at your view as sort of attacking.
Right.
Your view when they're just pointing out
things,
something, facts.
Right.
And that's what, like, if people are listening all the way until now, I don't want people to think that I'm trying to support, like, I guess you can think whatever you want, really. I really don't care what other people think, but
what you're doing is,
I just want to sort of emphasize that I'm not like supporting these actions that certain people are saying or doing, but I'm not also supporting the other side. So,
Right.
I'm just laying out some facts, and then you take up your opinions however you want. I have my own. I didn't share them really, but you can maybe kind of tell which way I might be leaning towards. But yeah, I mean, go out and look out for information before like seeing out or criticizing other people or comparing certain situations where there's really no room for comparing or room for judging these certain people. I don't know how much time do we?
I mean, we just hit the 2-hour mark.
Okay. Let me just talk about. I haven't been looking into it. I'm gonna talk about some things maybe positive, because we've been really talking about a lot of serious stuff, serious and like sort of negative things. So Elon Musk has this thing called a Neuralink that he talked about in the Joe Rogan podcast. His second time being there, and he was mentioning a lot about that. And it's basically like a coin size thing, implant that is going to be put into the head or the brain, and it's supposedly going to help people sort of regenerate certain things in the brain that will help cure like Alzheimer's and sort of brain debilitating diseases.
Right.
And today I think he showed like a live demonstration of it.
What?
And it wasn't with humans, of course. He was using pigs, I think, and he was showing the demonstration. And then I don't follow another guy, but I know some sort of him. His name is Lex Friedman. He works at MIT and is really into AI and robotics. And normally he criticizes not a lot, but Elon Musk's sort of like AI features on the Tesla, and sort of, he doesn't attack him, but he criticizes him on some issues that he has, Elon has and could work on.
Right.
And he put out a tweet that he was really impressed with the Neuralink.
What?
And if he's impressed, then it's probably going to be something that's going to change the future a lot.
It's going to be like an episode of Black Mirror. So.
Yeah. And I mean, like the little implant, it has like a battery.
What?
And the way he was saying that it would charge was with the neurons. So the neurons would be something and would charge the battery.
Well, yeah. Inside. I mean, the neurons are electrical.
Yeah.
And our body has electricity in it. So.
Yeah. So it would like charge, and then you could sort of link it to the computer and stuff like that.
What?
Yeah, it's something like, so it's really cool, but hopefully people aren't able to hack it and brain control. But I don't think so. They'll probably be able to like spy on you or stuff like that. But at this point in life, they're probably spying on us right now in that camera right there, listening to this on the phone.
I mean, we just did a full analysis on how the media does not do a great job. So either we get a job out of this, or somebody's like, we need to shut these people down. They're speaking too many facts.
Too many facts. No, I don't think so. Because there's people out there that, like, all this stuff I'm getting from like other people that research.
Right.
I really don't have much time to go into research, but these guys have put into research.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, there's a guy named Tim Pool. He's a Democrat. I think he's a liberal.
Tim Pool.
Yeah. And
didn't you show him?
Yeah. I showed him a little bit. I didn't show like actual video with content.
Wasn't he on Joe Rogan's?
Yeah, he was in Joe Rogan
podcast with Twitter.
With the Twitter, yeah. Because he really tries to be objective, right? Yeah. And he doesn't like the big tech companies like Twitter, Facebook, and stuff trying to sort of give out some sort of agenda, because they've actually shown their like bias when people that are criticizing the U.S. that are from other countries are not banned. But if someone in the U.S. criticizes something about the U.S., like maybe like a Democrat, they are criticizing Democrats, they're going to get banned and blocked from Twitter. And then if people are saying negative toward things towards Republicans, they're allowed to say it. And then when people say things that are bad against Democrats, they get banned. And so he's really for like stopping that.
Yeah.
Because that's really unfair and it's not freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
But he tries to be objective as possible with the news. And he also mentions that there is some bias included. It's not completely objective because he has his own ideas as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he tries his best to sort of...
No, I watched that podcast.
Yeah, and he was really like pointing out facts. And even like towards the end, they kind of messed up on their audio, where you could still hear them talk because they weren't on the air, so they were talking freely.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twitter person, the lady, was asking like usernames from that have been blocked in because certain cases, or haven't been blocked when they've have made like threats against Tim.
Mm-hmm.
But Tim says, no, I'm not going to do that because I feel like people should have a freedom of speech to do and say whatever they want on Twitter or social media. Right. So if I don't like people getting banned because of it, then I don't want you to. Yeah, is what he basically said. But yeah, he's very objective. There's other like guys that I watch, but I'll probably like tell you. But yeah, it's up to like the listeners if they want to research up on it. I also want to give an update on the house because I was sort of like a second option for the house that we wanted, but now we're in contract with the house.
What?
It was literally like the next day after recording the last episode. Yeah. That I got a call and said that they dropped the other guys and then they came into contract with us.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so hopefully everything goes well.
Right.
Like around September, we close the contract and then we get the house.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I've been checking out my parents' house in the last couple of weeks. So I went there and I mean the garage framing and everything is already up, so it's really exciting. I mean, I've gone there a couple of times, maybe too many times, thinking that like it's just gonna be a progress. I'm like, it still looks the same. But
this is a new nail.
Right. They just put a piece of grass right here. Anyways, no, it's exciting. I think that both of us, for so long, have been living in a certain, I guess, similar life situation, and I think it's exciting for you to be able to have. I'm sure you want a bigger space, and be able to explore and be creative. And I want to be having a bigger space to be able to be creative, and hopefully.
And this is good for the podcast because I'm gonna have, if we get this house, I'm gonna have a separate room for the podcast,
right?
And then we'll have guests over, and then because I mean, there's really not much room here in this room,
right?
And so with having just a room for the podcast, it's gonna be really good.
It'll be exciting. You and I can sit down and dive into some research
and then other people coming in, and that way we're not really sort of enclosed in this little room,
right?
And then we have more freedom
and for we can hear from other people.
Oh yeah, and because I really wanted to get people in, but I think it's good to wait until I get a space where it's just for this podcast, and then that way everyone is comfortable.
Right. All right. So thanks everybody for listening. Once again, this is Daniel Bischoff, and I'm here with
Mario Lopez. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to this episode where we talk about some current events that happened, and then a little bit of update on our life.
Right.